Hey, True Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's January 21st, 2017. Today is the 67-year anniversary of the death of George Orwell, the author of the book 1984, also Animal Farm. If you've never read the books 1984 or Animal Farm, I highly recommend you go to a used bookstore. There'll be copies of those books there. They'll probably be $1 to $2 each. Entirely worth your money and time to pick up those books and read them. Those books were warnings written decades ago for the nation we now live in, the United States of America. Very quickly, I want to talk to you about the book 1984, and then I want to talk about Donald Trump, the new president who is now running on this policy that he's calling America First. In 1984, there's something called doublespeak. And doublespeak is saying one thing and meaning the exact opposite, which is exactly what this America First policy is. So if you've never read 1984, one of the mottos from that book, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. And think about those words in regards to this nation. How often do we see our elected leaders going before the people and talking about how we need to wage these wars as we do, especially in the Middle East, so that people can be at peace? This is a crazy concept. War does not bring peace. War brings more chaos, more destruction, more hatred, more division. There's a reason the United States of America has been at war since the beginning of the creation of this nation up to the present. This nation, the United States of America, has brought more war into the world. This nation runs on war. This nation is a war machine. Freedom is slavery. Think about it. Here in the U.S., we tell ourselves that we're free, but we're not really free. We've never been free. In this nation, when we're born, we're stamped with a number. And we're born into a nation that has rules that we have to follow. For example, our parents have to put us in the education system. It is required by law. And when you realize what our education system is, you see why this is wrong. Our education system is not about empowering us. It's not about giving us skills and knowledge. It's not about increasing our quality of life. Our education system is about socializing us to the ways of this nation. You know, we have to go to classrooms for the majority of the day, and we learn to circle answers on paper that in truth aren't even correct. For example, we're all taught for many years that Christopher Columbus discovered a nation where millions of native people already lived. Why are we taught that? It doesn't even make sense. How can a man discover a place where people already live and have had, a way of life, a culture for thousands of years? See, we're not taught to think correctly. We're not given critical thinking skills. We're taught to circle answers that we're told are correct. Essentially, our education system is making us believe in a narrative that somebody wants for us. As many hours and years as we, the American people, spend in public school classrooms, if our time was better spent teaching us real skills, how to build, how to grow, how to take care of our bodies, we could produce a nation of very young, skillful, talented people. The powers that be, though, those who run our nation, they don't want this. They don't want skillful, informed, knowledgeable people. They want people with just enough information, just enough ability to be sent off to fulfill the meaningless, mediocre jobs that so many of us take on. These jobs that pay us a meager wage. And then with that meager wage, we scrape by to pay our bills to stay afloat. This entire system is by design. They make it hard for people to branch out and be entrepreneurs and create their own business by having government red tape, by making it expensive to get licenses and the paperwork done to start your own business. You know, how many of us right now live in towns where there's vacancies all over at the strip malls, and maybe one of us could go in there and start a business? But the reason we can't is because the rents are so high. You know, there's these strip malls that are completely vacant, but nobody can afford the monthly rent. And you know why it doesn't matter to the landlords? Because they're already mega rich, and they don't need their tenants' fees. See, this world, it's like that George Carlin joke. There's owners of this society, and the owners intend to maintain being the owners by maintaining the way things are. The education system that indoctrinates people to lies, wastes their time, and gives them no skills. And then coming out into this world with all these expenses, fees, regulation that make it so people can't break out. This next line, ignorance is strength. Ignorance is strength. You know, you see it all over this nation. Look at all the people at the Donald Trump rallies. They think this Donald Trump's a populist. They've been taken by the actor agent who's playing his part in selling out the masses. Donald Trump, more than a year ago, said he's grateful for all of the uneducated people, the ignorant people. Think about all these people at these rallies chanting, USA, USA. All these people who have their heads filled with that they live in the greatest nation ever. You know, really they live in a nation that's never respected them, that's wasted their life, that's held them down, that's kept them from reaching, you know, their purpose, their potential. A nation that has kept people ignorant and then celebrating that ignorance. For all of us who speak out and seek truth, we know how this is. I've been telling people about the lies of 9/11 since it happened. I was 18 years old. Almost everyone said the same thing back to me. Move out of the country then. You know? These people don't even want to confront the truth. They'd rather remain ignorant, and in that they think they're strong. They think they're patriotic. They think they're greater than thou. So this is from 1984. Show you something about 84 with regards to the United States of America. There's a language called gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. United States of America sums to 84. The United States of America, founded by Freemasons. Freemason mottos, divide and conquer, order out of chaos. Divide and conquer has gematria of 84. So does order out of chaos. Donald Trump, the latest president. Today, his first full day in office. Yesterday, Inauguration Day. Donald Trump is a Jesuit, and I want to show you something here with the alphabetic order about the word Jesuit. The word Jesuit is 84. This is the Masonic order within the Catholic Church. You know, U.S. history. We're taught that Christopher Columbus, CC, sent over by the Catholic Church, the CC, who discovered the Americas and came here and named the people Indian. Indian. Let me show you something about the word Indian in regards to Freemasonry. Indian equals 33. Number of obsession for Freemasonry. Masonry equals 33. Secrecy equals 33. Christopher Columbus, Catholic Church paid for his voyage. CC, C the third letter, CC 33. Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. So anyhow, real quick, just an introduction to gematria, practice of coding numbers into words, how it relates with the title 1984. If you read 1984, the main character is Winston 33. And as it turns out, this number 33, it's very relevant to us as people. People 33, person 33, society 33, order 33. The New World Order is an old world order, a Masonic world order. We people have 33 vertebrae in our back. You know? Show you something else. George Orwell, born June 25th, 1903. June 25th, 1984. That's the date Purple Rain, Prince's album, released. Prince died earlier this year by the numbers. Yesterday I showed how his death seems to be very much connected to Donald Trump's presidency. Check out yesterday's video. A lot to explain. connects him with the royal family over in the UK. Orwell died in the UK, died in London, January 21st, 1950, 67 years ago today. Anyway, June 25th, the author, George Orwell's birthday of 1984. June 25th, 1984, the day Purple Rain came out. You know, it began to rain as Trump took the podium yesterday. Check out all that I showed in yesterday's video. And if you missed all my work on Prince in the past year, I have probably 20-some videos on his death. The first of those videos I made was in February before he died, saying why we would probably be reading about the death of Prince soon. February 16th, I put out the video on why Prince's death was likely not too far off. Prince said, "I would die for you" on Purple Rain with the number 4, the letter U. He died on 4/21. U is the 21st letter. 4U, 4/21. Prince dead 33 years after recording that song in 1983. Dead in 2016. So 1984, the book we're talking about, published June 8th, 1949. That date can be written 8/6. Republic equals 86, Citizen 86, Symbol 86, Triangle 86, Pyramid 86. From the release of the book to the death of Orwell was 227 days. Very interesting. It's also 228 days, a full span of 228 days, or 227 days later. The word death, just show you this real quick. In Sumerian gematria, death equals 228. With the alphabet, if you write out 22 divided by 7, it sums to 314. 22 divided by 7 will give you pi, 3.14. This number 227, him dying 227 days after his birthday, it is significant all throughout history as well. Because it all comes back to cycles and circles. We live in a world of cycles and circles. Pi has everything to do with that. 22 divided by 7, taking us to pi. Trump, who is a Jesuit, went to the Jesuit school, Fordham University. Fordham University, 227. Jesuit school. So anyhow, let's go back now to Donald Trump's America First. Again, in 1984, the book is about how the leadership says one thing and always does the opposite. Here's Donald Trump. He has these people duped, thinking he's this populist that's going to restore power to the people. Well, let's look at his America First agenda to see how transparent the lies are. The first thing for America First is beating ISIL and other radical Islamic terror groups. ISIS, this Islamic boogeyman that was created at the end of 2013 after John Kerry and Obama failed to rally public support for a war with Syria. Then right after that, the story of ISIS, this Islamic extremist group, this offshoot of Al-Qaeda, coming out of Syria and Iraq, and our own government, our own media even letting us know that this group was created because of the failed wars in the Middle East started after September 11th. Now let's not forget that Donald Trump in his January 15th, 2000 book, The America We Deserve, predicted 9/11 at the World Trade Centers and even knew that it would be blamed on Osama bin Laden. The reason that was so is because Donald Trump is part of the New World Order agenda, and 9/11 was an event planned out for decades before it happened. That false flag planned several decades before it happened. World leaders in the NWO, the powers that shouldn't be, they had foreknowledge of 9/11 many years before it happened, including people like Trump. But anyway, Donald Trump's first policy in America First is fighting an Islamic boogeyman in another part of the world that is all part of an ongoing agenda. Let's think about reality here for us Americans. How many of us have ever seen an Islamic terrorist in our lives? With our own eyes, not counting the television. Who's seen an Islamic terrorist in the United States of America? The answer is no one, ever. September 11th wasn't carried out by radical Islamic extremists. The Boston Marathon bombing wasn't carried out by radical Islamic extremists. The Orlando shooting wasn't by an Islamic-inspired terrorist. Either was the San Bernardino shooting. All of these are false flag propaganda staged by your government, who is working for the New World Order, the Masonic Zionist Jesuit World Order. The real tyrants, the real terrorists, they wear suits. And they are in your own government. Not these people that they're trying to paint as a threat to our existence. People living in caves in the mountains of Afghanistan. This is all lies. This is all deceit. This is what 1984 is about. People being given constant propaganda through screens. People who know their nation's at war, but they don't really know why. This is us right now at this day and age. And now here we have this candidate trying to pretend to be a populist, saying he's all about America first, and his first order of business is continuing on with the false wars against the false boogeyman. What are the real problems in America? What are the real problems? The real problem is this. This is the real problem. You can boil it down to one thing. The real problem in America is we are born into a nation where most of us, we have two parents. Well, a lot of us don't even have two parents. We'll say our one or our two parents, what their circumstance is they are working slaves. They're doing all they can to stay afloat. They don't have any time to spend with their kids. They don't have time to do anything besides, go to work, make food, go to bed, maybe watch a sitcom. This is how almost every American's life is. Slaving to get by, having no time to really do anything, having no time to spend with their own children. Most children spend more time in the state schools than they see their own parents and the time that they're growing up. So, in America, we have a nation where people don't even have time to be family. Their job is about grinding so that they can pay their taxes and pay their bills. And what are the consequences of that? All these behavioral problems, parents who don't feel safe to let their children go outside. So what do the children do? They grow up in front of the TV. We have this childhood obesity epidemic, This is like a real problem. If I was the leader of this nation, what I would be saying is, look, America, less than a century ago, there used to be one parent that worked. And that parent made enough income to take care of the family. And the child could be schooled by the mother. The child could be around a parent or both parents more often than not. And back then, as a society, we didn't have all these epidemics. We didn't have all these child health crises. Less than a century ago, we had all organic food that was affordable. We had local food. We had food that didn't kill people. We had food labels where people could look and say, oh, this is made out of an apple, cinnamon, whatever. Now you look at a label and it's made out of, how do I pronounce this? Glucose, what? These are the problems in America. No time for family. Food that we don't even know what it is. These things are what are destroying us. And think about it. Why should it be this way in 2017? In reality, we have all of this technology. And the technology, it could be used to make this world a paradise for almost all of us. Human labor, it's hardly even a necessity. We have robots that can go out and build the products. In a lot of ways, completely maintain the process of growing the food. All of this advanced machinery that's made it so much easier to harvest food. We could be using all of this technology to make sure that everyone has organic food, everyone has a shelter, We could just create this world. We could create literally a utopia with what we have now. We could create a world where people don't have, or trying to find the words. We have all of the resources to shelter everyone. We have the technology, we have the capability to have better quality food. People don't need to be going off slaving, doing meaningless jobs to keep up with the rent. We have the technology to make it so that energy is more efficient, renewable. The reason we're not taking any of this technology and giving it to the people is because the powers that shouldn't be, they don't want to see a well-nourished, successful, healthy, sheltered society. They want to see people who are in a position where they need to go out and grind and participate in a system that keeps the powers that be at the top where they are. Do you understand that? There's a society of people mega rich, a very small group that have way more wealth than the majority of the masses. And they make sure the world continues that system that keeps things that way. Because these people, they're greedy. To them, it's all about them. It's all about them control, their wealth, their power, and keeping the masses down so that they can keep their position in life. They have the mentality that only they matter and all these other people out here don't. Think about this. Let's find this stat right here. Where'd I put this up at? So here's the wealth disparity in the United States. In 2005, the year I graduated from college, it was reported that year, the United States of America had the worst wealth disparity in the history of the world for any nation. The U.S., and that wealth disparity has only continued to get worse. Wealth disparity means the biggest gap between the poorest person in the country and the richest person. The U.S., in all-time history, in all of the world, has the worst wealth disparity. Look at this stat. And, if you go and read these stats, they'll vary a little bit. I've seen stats that make this even more severe, but right here, I think this is a fair reporting based on, if you go out there and check everywhere what everyone's reporting, this seems pretty fair, and this makes the point. The wealthiest 1% possess 40% of the nation's total wealth. So the richest 1% have almost half of the total wealth in the country. The bottom 80%, which is almost all of us, it includes myself and the majority of you watching, the 80% of us that are the poorest, we have 7% of the wealth. So let's just make this model simple. Imagine there's 100 people. The person at the top represents the richest 1%. The 80 people at the bottom in this group of 100 represent the 80% of the poorest. If we had 100 candy bars to divide up, that richest one person would get 40 candy bars. They get 40 just for themselves. The 80 people, they get 7 candy bars to divide up amongst all 80 of them. So you'd have to cut the candy bar into 12 pieces and give each person 1/12 of the candy bar. Well, then you'd have 4 extra pieces. But do you see? The richest person gets 40 candy bars. The poorest people get 1/12 of a candy bar. And a lot of people will say, well, that's what America's all about. That's what capitalism is all about. That's what makes this country so great. It's those people at the top that are so rich that have brought in all the ingenuity that's made this nation great. I've talked with these people a million times. I know exactly what they say. So, for all the people who say that, you start looking at the richest people. What are they doing in the world? Are they the people that are creating the technology? They're not. You know who the richest people are? The richest people are the people who are born into the richest people and who just maintain being the richest people because they are the beneficiaries of this system. They're the ones that own the stock market. And this nation, it's set up based on the stock market. Most of us are working for mega corporations. And what is the number one priority of all those mega corporations? The number one priority is to make a return on investment for the investor class, which is the very richest Americans who control the political system. And that's why, when the politicians get in office, they're constantly making laws for that group. They're making it so that group has to pay less taxes. Do you realize that? The investors who make these billions of dollars on their investments, they don't have to pay any taxes on them. They don't even have to work, and they don't even have to pay any taxes on their investments that are all the result of the labor of all the poor people who work and have nothing and have to pay a lot of taxes on their labor. The majority of the poor people, 3 months out of the year of their labor goes entirely towards taxes. And that doesn't even count all the other taxes and fees. When you really break it down, the average working American, half of their working year goes to not them, the wealth. That's why, less than a century ago, one parent had to work. They made more wealth for their family. And now here we are. Almost every household, both parents working and barely getting by. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that people have been duped into not saving and spending their money and keeping up with the Joneses and getting new vehicles and new everything else continually. People just blowing their money, which also supports the very rich. But again, this goes back to our education system, which doesn't teach people any common sense. It doesn't teach them any critical thinking or how to make out in this world. Just pretty much teaches them how to be drones and slaves to a system. So make America first. Make America first begins with propaganda about fighting a boogeyman. Look at the stats. Who's dying from terrorism in the world? Almost no one. More people are dying from bee stings every year in the United States than people dying worldwide from terrorism. True stat. And further, again, what we're being told is the threat. It doesn't even exist. It's made up by our government. It's propaganda, which Donald Trump is participating in. So after beating ISIL, after beating the boogeyman, that's America first, then what's the next priority? A massive military spending program. Hello, this is what we always have in America. Who remembers what Donald Rumsfeld came out and said September 10th, 2001? The day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, what did he say? It was the front page of the New York Times the morning of September 11th, the front page before the attack. In 1984, there's a phrase called down the memory hole. The story of Donald Rumsfeld from September 10th is down the memory hole. That means the things that people don't remember anymore. Donald Rumsfeld, the day before 9/11, said that the Pentagon had misplaced more than $2 trillion, a sum of dollars that aren't even conceivable. $1 trillion is $1 billion 1,000 times over, and $1 billion is hardly conceivable. So the Pentagon lost $2 trillion in 1999 and 2000. So in 2 years, they lost more than $2 trillion. And just think, how do you lose $2 trillion? You cannot lose $2 trillion. But Donald Rumsfeld came out and said that the Pentagon lost this in 2 years' time. That means they were losing tens of millions of dollars every single day. How do you lose tens of millions of dollars every single day? Anyway, Donald Rumsfeld said that because the Pentagon had lost that much money, the Pentagon was now going to have to be transparent and drastically reduce its budget. Well, the next day, September 11th happened, and nobody remembers any of that. Nobody cares about any of that. You know what happened the next day? The Pentagon's budget became less transparent and increased. So here we are in 2017, and Donald Trump, his second plan for America First is to build the military even further. As a reminder, the U.S. military budget is more than all of the other nations of the world combined. We spend more on military than the rest of the world combined every single year. We make up about 1/20th of the world's population. We spend more than the rest of the world combined on military. And again, 1984 is a book about a people who live in a slave state, a military state. United States of America, 84. The word military equals 44. If you take the divisors of the number 44 and add them together, it sums to 84. Obama was the 44th president. Obama equals 84. His birthday's 8/4. Obama, duped the people, duped a lot of people. and came in and maintained the agenda, just as I told everyone he would back in 2008. Wasn't hard to see. But here's Trump's America First. Fighting an Islamic boogeyman, something that will not help America. Massive military expenditure, something that will not help America. The more money we spend on military and weapons, the less money we have for things that improve quality of life. Military weaponry is about killing. How does killing help people? The real threat to this world is our nation, the United States of America. The United States of America wants to create the illusion in the minds of its people that there's all these threats out there, but the threat to the world is the United States of America. Military empire, creates wars based on lies, attacks its own people. Look, the spread of terrorism, rumors, fear-mongering, terrorism, fear-mongering, that's infecting more and more nations with each passing year. It's because the U.S. is the military bicep, of the New World Order. One of many New World Order nations, the military bicep of it all. That's why it spends more money on the military than the rest of the world combined. So the next thing, reoriented diplomacy. And they write, the world must know that we do not go abroad in search of enemies. Talk about completely saying something that's not true. That we are always happy when old enemies become friends and when old friends become allies, the manifesto reads. So the U.S., this is what they do. They always are creating a fictional boogeyman, a fictional enemy out there. Communism, Russia, terrorism, Islamic extremism. The enemies are within in this nation. They are the people who govern over us, the people who control all the wealth, the information, and keep we the masses slaving, fighting amongst ourselves, in fear. And they do it to us all with lies. What else does this say? Okay, so the next thing is redefining global trade. Redefining global trade. Now, global trade, is that something that really impacts? Is that really an issue for the American people? Global trade, something that mega corporations focus on. The United States is a corporation, a nation run by industry and banking. Decades ago in the 90s, when NAFTA was passed, that was Republican legislation passed by a Democratic president, just like Obamacare was. Obamacare was Republican legislation passed by a Democratic president. Obamacare originated with Mitt Romney's Republican administration, then passed by the Democratic President Obama. NAFTA, created by Republicans and passed by Bill Clinton, the Democratic president. And right now we have Donald Trump, who was a Democrat his whole life until 2009, and then recently became a Republican, and now is the Republican president. It doesn't matter. Both parties represent the same tyrants. It's a divide and conquer of the people, different rhetoric, same governing tactics. Anyway, NAFTA. If you go back and look at the majority of people who spoke out against NAFTA, who were in the Congress and Senate, the majority of people who spoke out against NAFTA were in the Democratic Party. And again, the two parties, they govern the same way. The rhetoric's meant to divide people. But if you want to find the only honest speech in the history of our congressional representatives, you're only going to find it from Democratic candidates. The biggest Republican truth talker ever is probably Ron Paul. But for every truth that Ron Paul said, he had 100 things that were way off base. Ron Paul is cuckoo crazy. And an agent. A lot of people think he's an honest man. He's not. He's just hope for the hopeless. But anyway, you go back and listen to like a senator like Byron Dorgan. Byron Dorgan was ripping NAFTA a new asshole back in the 90s. And at the same time, Byron Dorgan I recognize as another agent too. But go back and listen to what Byron Dorgan said that NAFTA would do. Byron Dorgan told you exactly what the future of NAFTA would be. He said it would depress so many crucial markets in Mexico, and because of that, it would create all sorts of illegal immigration into the United States. NAFTA made it so that the corn farmers in Mexico couldn't make any money off their corn. And corn was a major industry in Mexico prior to NAFTA. NAFTA destroyed all of the corn farmers in Mexico, and for a lot of people, that was how they made their money. And the entire industry was wiped out. So all of a sudden, you had all these poor, desperate people. And guess what? The next closest jobs were across the border in the United States. So everyone saw what NAFTA would do with illegal immigration. And you know what? It's all by design. They want the illegal immigrants here because then they can exploit them and keep their costs down, you know? Everything going on is by design. It's all part of a master plan. You know, think about it. You bring in these illegal immigrants. You don't even have to pay them. Look at all the mega corporations that exploit the mega... If you have not done your homework, you don't realize what's going on. Mega corporations, from meat packing industry to these mega agricultural giants, they funnel in the illegal immigrants. They actually bust them in. They bring them across the border, and then they exploit these people. You know? They have them work. They promise them that they'll pay them after months. They'll give them cheap housing. They'll pay them after months, and then they never even get paid. And then they all get shipped back to Mexico. And then they have to come back again. This is the kind of stuff that's been going on in this nation for decades that's a secret to the masses. But it's all documented. It can all be researched. All the information is out there. All these people that hate on Mexicans and illegal immigrants, you guys have to recognize what's being done. All of this is by design. If they wanted to build up Mexico and help, you know, bring more jobs there so that their nation's successful, right next to the U.S., they could do that. And you know what? As a U.S. citizen, you should want to see your southern neighbor be successful. You know, synergy. You're only as strong as your weakest link. You know, we need to start seeing the people of this world as the people of the world, not seeing people based on what false border they live behind. It's the New World Order against the masses, and the New World Order keeps the masses fighting with themselves over nonsense. So another part of this America First, leader of the free world no more. In some, the warm, fuzzy conceit of America, the well-meaning, off-blundering global super cop trying to spread democracy has officially disappeared. So this is Trump saying, you know, he's not going to be a nation builder. He's not going to go out there and police other nations. Well, his first thing is about fighting ISIS. I mean, it's already a direct contradiction. But here's my recommendation for all of you. The last Republican president, George W. Bush, the son of the Republican president before that. You see that? We got father, son, now Trump. Anyway, go back to what George W. Bush was saying in 2000 when he was running. He was saying he was against nation building. He was saying he was against world policing. He said one of his father's greatest mistakes was going to war in Iraq. Guess what? The whole George W. Bush administration turned into nation building, policing the world, you know, building up military bases all over. Turned into everything he said it wouldn't be. And of course people will say, well, that's because 9/11 happened. Yeah, but you need to understand 9/11 was planned. It was all part of the agenda. And Trump, the same type of thing could happen while he's president, and he'll say, well, that's what I was saying before this. Now here we are, we're back to being the cop. And I mean, he's already saying we should be the cop. He's saying we're going to fight ISIS, the Islamic boogeyman supposedly all over the world. So even his own policy doesn't make sense. And it's not meant to. It's all a joke. This is 1984. This is reality TV stars, the President of the United States. It's all part of a grand mocking. So let's close out here with a key word from Orwell's 1984. The word is called doublespeak. Doublespeak is when you say one thing and mean another. America first, not hardly. This is the New World Order first. This is the New World Order agenda continued. This is just where we're at in 2017. America first. If it was America first, it would be about restoring wages to the working people. After World War II, one parent could generate more wealth for their family now than two parents can. Why is that? Shouldn't be that way at this day and age. things should be better for us based on the technology and ability we have. And the only reason it's not is because we're being manipulated, taken advantage of, so that we are kept in the slave state we live in. You know, America first. That's about restoring wealth to families so families can be families, allowing people to be in their community so children can return to the streets, to the parks, to play outside. This is what America first would look like if that was a policy. Not, we're going to go fight the Islamic boogeyman and even spend more money on the military. Unbelievable. Well, actually, it's not. It's just more of the same. Doublespeak in Gematria also sums to 666, number of the beast. Remember, New World Order has the Gematria that matches number of the beast. Number of the beast, 666 from Book of Revelation, the final book of the Bible. Doublespeak, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. You want to know what's awesome? Right as I was about to start this video, I just like to keep an eye on my comments. Right as I was about to start the video, somebody posted this. T. Little, I'm reading 1984 by George Orwell, and I just got past the part where Winston reads the book explaining the grand scheme. I was hoping you could review the material written in the chapters about war and peace and keeping the people ignorant. The things expressed are exactly what is being done to us. I think your viewers would greatly benefit from knowing more about the details of the book. Thanks, Zach. Keep up the excellent work. So, again, go out and get this book. You got a used bookstore nearby. I guarantee this book's going to be there. It's going to cost $1 to $2. Paperback version. Read it, cover to cover, you know? You can read it in less times than it'll take you to watch the rigged football games tomorrow. And also pick up Animal Farm. Animal Farm's even funnier. It's a quicker read. I honestly like Animal Farm more than 1984, but read both books. They're about this nation, this world we live in. They got a sense of humor and a lot of truth. Let's wake up the masses. Let's remove the tyrants from government. Let's take the world back. Let's make it about people over profit. You know, a better world instead of constant fear. A word I don't use a lot, Truth Seeker, is love. Because I feel that word in this society is just empty. People say, I love you all the time, and they don't even mean anything. They don't even really love the person. And, I mean, what is love? I mean, people have a different definition on what love is. What we need in this world is caring. Caring about what's going on. Caring about ourselves. Caring about the people around us. You know, doing something for the people around us. Helping out the people around us. We need a mindset. If you want to call that love, call it love. But to me, a better word is caring. You know, America first means caring about more than your own self, your own material well-being, your own ego, your own status. The problem in America is everyone's put themselves first and said, forget everything else. You know, everything else is just too overwhelming. And it's meant to be that way. That's why our media and our government's always bombarding us with negativity. You know, they expect us to just go, okay, I can't deal with that. I'm just going to take care of me. I'm going to duck my head, lay low, stay out of the way of Big Brother. That's what needs to change. So that's all for now, Truth Seeker. Until next time.